Hello, my name is Barbara Kay, and on behalf of my co-host Susan Pertnoy and the Jewish Federation of Palm Beach County, I'd like to welcome you to our program, MOSAIC.
Our focus today is that indifference is immoral. We must do something to make the world a better place. We'll be back with our program and our guests after this brief message.
It was a shock when my smart, strong husband had a stroke. His mind was agile, but everything else failed him. I didn't see how he could possibly recover. But through patience, skill, and compassion, the caregivers at Morse Life brought him back to himself. They brought him back to me.
Morse Life Short-Term Rehabilitation. Morse Life. Honoring senior living.
Through our partner agency programs in Israel, Federation creates opportunities for at-risk youth, families, and seniors. We also provide emergency assistance to the victims of terrorism. Community, like every gift, counts. Together, we can ensure a vibrant Jewish future. Federation and you, changing the world together.
Welcome back to MOSAIC, and welcome to you, Roman Polonsky. What a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, well, listen, it was a joy. You are the head of the unit for Russian-speaking Jewry for the Jewish Agency for Israel.
Right.
And the agency is very important. The Federation, you know, raises money and has two major overseas partners. The Jewish Agency for Israel, of course, and the Joint Distribution Committee, and both do remarkable work. But before I talk about your specific work, I want you to tell our viewers, literally, what the Jewish Agency does.
Jewish Agency does two major things. Connect Jews in diaspora to Israel, strengthening Jewish identity with Israel in its center, and connect Jews in Israel to biggest Jewish family in diaspora.
Yeah. At one time, the Jewish Agency was very big on bringing Jews out of areas where they were, going to die if they didn't get out of there, and bring them to Israel. So the absorption was very much a part of what they did. But your job is kind of unique, and there are many facets of it. I'm talking about your particular job. Share some of that with us.
Look, when we speak about all these challenges that were in the past, they don't belong only to the past. They are in reality right now. When we look at the situation in Ukraine and the challenges there, to take people, to help them to go to Israel and to resettle them in Israel, it's very similar to what we had in the past. This year, Aliyah from Ukraine tripled itself. This year, I mean 2014. In 2013, it was only 2,000 Jews who came from Ukraine to Israel.
Yeah.
And the last year, it was 6,000. And from France, it's 7,200. And maybe this year we will see 10,000 or 12,000 or 15,000. It means that this past experience, it's not belong only to the past. And we deal it today. But not only with this, we deal with the broader agenda of strengthening Jewish identity, connection to Israel, which can be expressed in different ways, not only in Aliyah, but it can be expressed in helping Israel, in defending Israel. It's just being a leader in the communities, just continue Jewish life, just build together Jewish community and Jewish world.
Yeah. You wrote something which I thought was so interesting, and I'd like to share that also with our viewers. You went on a 3-day trip. You went to Ukraine, and of course I don't have to tell you today, even as we speak, there is a problem in Ukraine, very desperate problem. But we're going to take it on a kind of sequential way. And you started off and you went to Kiev. Share what it was like in terms of the attitude of the people living in Kiev, and what Kiev was like in May 11th, in celebrating Israel Independence Day.
Can I speak about Kiev in end of January because I just returned from Kiev and from eastern Ukraine several days ago. So I can compare between Kiev.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. Actually, if you tell a little bit about the past and what's happening, it's increased in intensity.
Yeah.
Share that, yes.
Look, when we speak about Kiev, we speak about the center of revolution. Many people there, and mostly young people, they're very enthusiastic about this revolution. They took a prominent role in this revolution, and Jews, as always, in every revolution, they also took very, very prominent role in this, and they are proud right now to be Ukrainians, Ukrainian Jews, which is to some extent surprising because we, as a Soviet citizens, were not to be proud of it. There was nothing to be proud of. And now we see the creation of new identity, Ukrainian and Jewish identity, which is very interesting. And this pride of being Ukrainian Jewish leader, Ukrainian Jewish activist. Now, when I say Ukrainian Jewish, it means Ukrainian in the first place. They work for the benefit of Ukrainian general population, our graduates of our programs, our former camp counselors established a chain helping Ukrainian soldiers. And this is one of the major volunteering organizations today in Ukraine.
Yeah, but the Ukrainian Jews said that even though we helped with the revolution, they still were felt like second-class citizens. You didn't find that?
Look, if we speak about undercurrent anti-Semitism,
yes,
that was and is and will be, it's one thing. But on the official level, there is no such a thing as anti-Semitism. Everybody loves Jews in central Ukraine and in western Ukraine because they want to be part of Europe. How you can be part of Europe not loving Jews? It's difficult. Now, Israel is very popular right now in Ukraine because Israel is a small country that knows how to defend itself against a lot of enemies. And they are in similar situation against Russia, and they think that Israel is a good example for them.
You know, it's interesting because from what I read, I have a different feeling. Of course, you were there, so I assume that what you're saying has more credibility. But when you go to Odessa, I think it was 1905 when they had the pogrom, and I don't think they ever got over the black sense of despair that you, on the other hand, feel there's an optimistic response in the community.
When we speak about Ukraine, we speak about different regions. We speak about Eastern Ukraine, where different situation. We speak about Kiev, where different situation. And Odessa, there are three different parts of this country. Odessa, people are very nervous because they don't know what will be the next step, what will be the next offense. Now, Odessa has its own history, and Odessa wasn't involved in this revolution such it was in Kiev. And that's why in Kiev, many people, they are still enthusiastic and they hope and they want to take part in this. In Odessa, this is, international city with different mood, and actually people there feel differently. In Eastern Ukraine, they are not identify themselves at all with this revolution. Jews there are scared. They actually subject for bombing. They subject for all these cruel and unbelievably cruel things there. And that's why it's very difficult to speak, as we cannot say former Soviet Union, because former Soviet Union, it's a misleading term. And even today, when we say Ukraine, it's also kind of, this Ukraine or this Ukraine, this part of this or another part.
Or Donetsk.
Or Donetsk, of course. Donetsk is Donetsk and Lugansk, which is actually part of Russia right now, with these rebels there, separatists, and with culture and other things.
You know, it's amazing. You wrote something about Donetsk and the rabbi who spoke to you and thanked you and the Jewish Agency for the funding that you gave them.
Yeah, this is about enhancing the security of Jewish communities all around Ukraine. We distributed $400,000 for enhancing the security of Jewish communities, and the gift was from 2,000 to 5,000. And actually it gave them this opportunity to put new cameras and to hire new security there. And actually one of the cameras that they put in Nikolaev caught the perpetrator who threw Molotov cocktail on the synagogue. And we could do it only because of you, because of your generosity, because of your help, because of Palm Beach and New York and Atlanta and Jaffna, because we received these funds from you. And in this sense, we can say that you really are saving lives.
Yeah, that's, you know, it's interesting. It would be interesting for our Federation viewers understand how valuable it is for them to contribute to, you know, our community, because a portion saves lives. But you know something, they look to the agency. When you come in, they look to you and you say, are you going to save us? Are you going to help us if we're in trouble? What will you do if things get worse? Don't they come to you like that?
Yeah, but we are doing this. We are doing this, again, it's because of your help. We can get these people through all these checkposts and through all this encountering with local militias. We can resettle them in eastern Ukraine, and then to take them on the planes to Israel and to create for them programs in Israel for their absorption. Again, it's only because of you, because of your help, your partnership. You know, when I was in Ukraine, I told people there that I'm in Ukraine not on my behalf. I am on behalf of Jews in Palm Beach and in New York and in Chicago, because they care about you. And I wish you could see tears in their eyes, because it was so important for them, not only this money, which is actually fuel for everything that we are doing, but this feeling of involvement, feeling that you care. That was wonderful.
Yeah. I want to talk to you when we come back. We have to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about the camps and the opportunity for young people. We'll be back with our program right after this brief message.
Federation and our overseas partners support the resurgence of Jewish life in Eastern Europe and the former Soviet Union. We also provide humanitarian assistance wherever Jews encounter poverty and crisis. Community, like every gift, counts. Together, we can ensure a vibrant Jewish future. Federation and you, changing the world together.
My wife is the light of my life. Being her caregiver is both a joy and a challenge. I'm determined to stick with it, but it can be exhausting. I need support. Morse Life is here to help us. We look forward to seeing them. Morse Life Home Healthcare. Morse Life. Honoring senior living.
Welcome back to Mosaic. Robin Polonsky, prior to the break, I was talking about the tension and the anxiety that's taking place in Ukraine today. Let's talk about the opportunity for young people and the camps in Israel that you helped develop the opportunity for them to go to. Explain that.
Look, Jewish camping, in our view, is a central part of our work. It's an ultimate Jewish transformative experience, because people who live in the society where in many places there is no strong Jewish infrastructure, there are no families from which they can inherit their Jewishness, there is no Jewish schools, day schools and newspapers and others. For them to go and to experience for 10 days, and we unfortunately are now speaking only about 10 days, experience these 2 Shabbats, 2 holidays. It's so important, and then it has a ripple effect on their families. They come back and they start asking their parents why we don't light candles on Shabbat, and then they explain their families. I can say that this area, former Soviet Union, is maybe the only area where we see reversible assimilation. We believed that after third generation, it's irreversible. Now we see that after third generation, with the third generation, we can reverse the trend, and that's why it's so important. And then they go and they become counselors, and we have in our programs 700 counselors in former Soviet Union, and they go to Israel experience, and they make their own choice. They can make aliyah, they can go back and to become leaders in their own communities, and this is important for us.
Yeah. You know something, it's been a very impactful experience for the children. I've read some of the articles about their homecoming and what the impact, really literally, of Israel did make on them. What do you think is going to be the future of these people? Are they going to stay, or the majority of them are going to leave?
You mean in the former
Soviet Union, yeah.
Look, when we speak about numbers of aliyah from former Soviet Union, mainly from Ukraine and Russia, from Ukraine we speak about 1.5% of the total population, and from Russia less than 1%.
Really?
So it means that they will stay. The majority will stay there, unless there will be some, major disaster. But right now, even right now, we speak about increase by 1,000% of aliyah from eastern Ukraine, and increase from Kiev and other parts as well. But it's not the same thing that it was in the beginning of the 90s. It's not 180,000 people. It's not an exodus. So they will stay there. And our commitment to them is not less than our commitment to those who come to Israel. We want them to be Jewish. We want them to continue their Jewish lives. We want them to build communities. We want them to be connected to Israel. They are the part of our Jewish family. And that's why it's so important to continue all these programs, which in my unit are interconnected. We speak about Sunday schools with 3,000 participants, kids there, who go to summer camps with 6,500 participants, and then to Israeli experience with 2,500 participants in Birthright and Masa, and then come back and becoming leaders of 2,000 participants in our leadership programs. All this is what I call an ultimate Jewish journey.
Yeah, you know something, you said it so beautifully. It's true. It's so absorbing for them that it becomes a major change in their lives, which is interesting. But what I read was that a lot of the younger people really want to make Aliyah, and the older people don't want to in Ukraine. They don't want to leave. They're afraid to leave.
Look, those who didn't make Aliyah until now, during these 25 years of Aliyah from 1990, it means that they chose to stay there and to build their lives there. Now it's lost. They cannot believe, actually, that everything is lost, especially those from Eastern Ukraine. They lost their jobs, their salaries, their apartments, their status, and they are now refugees. In 21st century, they cannot accept it, and they cannot believe that it's really happening to them. And that's why it's so difficult for this elder generation to take this decision. Young people, they have their lives ahead of them, and they want to build their lives in the other places.
Yeah. Listen, I have to tell you something. It's wonderful speaking with you. It really has been. It's an education.
I can say the same about you.
But I'm just want to tell you that there are people, lay people, that work for us at the Federation that are part of them as a volunteer. And we have a terrific young man that I'd like you to listen to. He's spent his whole life in his families also getting involved with Ukraine, with the Jewish Agency, and we're going to hear from him now. But I want to thank you so much for sharing everything. It was a pleasure.
And I would like, really, from the bottom of my heart, to thank you, to thank your community, and to thank American Jewry for your absolutely historical role in the fate of Soviet Jewry. You led this Let My People Go in 70s, and now you saved them physically and spiritually. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mark Levy. You're a past president of our Jewish Federation and currently a board member for the Jewish Agency.
Yes.
You also chair the Israel Educational Fund, which, if I'm correct, is a partnership of the Jewish Agency. Can you explain what that is?
Sure, Susan. The Jewish Agency, at the direction of then Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion in 1964, started a program to assist families that came from disadvantaged backgrounds. When high school education was not being provided by the State of Israel, it was a partnership with North America, the then UJA, and the United Israel Appeal to build high schools in Israel for children to be able to attend who previously could not have afforded to. We wanted to diminish the gap between the haves and the have-nots. And this was the start and why it's called the Israel Education Fund. But it's evolved since then.
Right, and so now let's move forward. I know they've built about over 1,200 buildings throughout Israel, which is quite a coup. What other programs are they now doing?
Well, for example, the 1,200 properties or include daycare centers, anything that is not done by the Israeli government and is a not-for-profit, nonprofit, qualified under U.S. law, tax law, is considered a chance for people to be a donor and follow their dollars and make a difference in Israel. So, for example, preschools, daycare centers, Jewish community centers, even senior centers, and specifically, one of the most important things that has been worked on in the last year or two has been the reinforcement of senior housing centers to protect the people from missiles or attacks. Obviously, elderly people have struggled to be able to get to a safe room within 15 seconds. So that is a current effort. So people here who are donors make contributions, I say here in the United States, make contributions to directly through the United Israel Appeal to the Jewish Agency, and then their dreams of whatever it is, whether it's the Jean and Irwin Levy Daycare Center in Hod HaSharon, which was built during Project Renewal, or
Bent Alliance.
Exactly. So we have 1,200 properties, and it's our job as a committee, which I'm a new chair. It's our job to make sure to follow the dollars, to make sure it's being conducted properly, and that the donors' wishes are met, and to keep in touch with the donors so that they know what's going on.
Oh, that's quite an undertaking.
Yeah.
You have been involved with philanthropy for most of your adult life, probably all of your adult life. What motivates you to do this and make the world a much better place?
Well, I make an effort to do that, and I can't claim to have made the world a much better place, but I certainly hope that all of our collective efforts will achieve that. It motivates me for that very reason. First of all, I focus on Jewish charities, but it's not the only charities I focus on. But that's my primary focus, and I believe that fewer and fewer Jewish people are engaging in Jewish life and activities, and whether it's in Israel or here in our local community, whether it's synagogue life or Jewish community centers or helping Olim make Aliyah to Israel who need to get out of the countries that they are currently residing in. This is something that I've just been involved with for a long time.
It's very important. You know, you said something that is so true. Young people today are not living Jewish lives. Mm-hmm. How do you think we can motivate them, or do you have any feelings or ideas on what needs to be done?
Thank you. I think that the Living Bridge connection with Israel is an extraordinary piece of that puzzle. It's just a piece. You know, there's education, synagogue, all those things are have their important place. A program like Birthright is so important as the last chance for the young adult. However, I think we've determined that Israel experience in the teens or even younger has a tendency to create an identity, a Jewish identity. I found that in my own family with my children, and I think that in my own case, the first time I went to Israel was in 1971, and it was an impactful experience for me, and I think it motivated me to participate in Jewish life as I became an adult.
That is critical. That was a pivotal moment for you. Indifference is a terrible, terrible thing. What's your comment about that?
Well, if you have the opportunity to see things for yourself firsthand, to be at that elderly center for the elderly near the Gaza border, or you see for yourself the little children in the preschool who are being protected, and that's just this part of the Jewish agency, or see the people who are brought from Ethiopia, or who are coming from Ukraine, or who are coming from France right now. I think that indifference would really, I think that would help resolve the indifference. Unfortunately, how do we make that step? Get the people to see it for themselves and to become engaged and to become part of the effort.
That's so true. And on that note, we have to end. And thank you so much for joining us.
It was an honor. Thank you.
You know, that was inspiring. I tell you, I felt my heart was breaking when I was listening to Roman speak about what was taking place in Ukraine.
Could you imagine being stripped of everything after spending your whole life in a community? It's just so hard to even comprehend.
Yeah, but it's when you talk about indifferent and you listen to Mark Levy, it's very encouraging. I really am so proud of the work that we do here at the Federation and the result.
There's so many issues in the world today. It's really important to have people like Roman and Mark and everybody that cares to participate to help us.
Without question, and I thank you for being with us as well. Be with us again next week when we have another look into the Jewish world. Goodbye from MOSAIC.